Hey YouTube, Warbles on a lot here. Sometimes, for some reason, people accuse me of being a prepper. And today I'm going to upgrade my first aid kit. So let's just call this Prepper's First Aid Kit Update. Everybody has their own ideas on it. I've always elected to keep my serious first aid kit in my motor vehicle, on the theory that I can get by at home. Wet, 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 isn't it? As I was saying, I can get by at home with 3 packets of Band-Aids in different sizes, some eucalyptus oil, some tea tree oil, and a packet of decent painkillers. While in the car, I've been carrying this, which any serious student of Army surplus storology will probably recognise as an Australian Army Vietnam vintage bum pack, as they were called back in the day. If you're really good at decoding hieroglyphics, you can just see C and a W and 3 PLT, and it said Wharton across there. This is the bum pack, which I purchased in about 1976 when I was a keen green little high school cadet. I painted the Red Cross onto it in about 1993. Back in the days when I lived with the wife and 3 kids, and I had some spare paint after building a model aeroplane for my eldest stepson. As you can see, this particular bum pack has seen better days, to the point where I think it's really kind of effectively permanently unrepairable. Following an episode when it got to sit on the nylon carpet in the back seat of my vehicle after I'd been carrying a second-hand car battery which managed to leak sulfuric acid into the carpet. And the battery acid subsequently ate right through the 50-year-old bum pack. So, I've had it on the cards for a while to replace this thing, not only because there's that wrong with it, it's falling to pieces, but also because even if this first aid kit was in perfect condition, there's not much room in it for a few other things that I've added to my first aid collection since I put this thing together. Things like gastrolyte solution to treat electrolyte imbalance caused by vomiting and diarrhea, as well as Imodium to prevent the diarrhea, as well as an infrared thermometer with a laser dot to tell you what you're measuring. Because, you know, if you think you might be going to have to deal with Ebola, you don't want to be touching the people you think might have it. A stash of painkillers in case somebody breaks a leg, more Band-Aids, oil of cloves in case of a toothache, and cotton buds with which to apply the oil of cloves to the aching tooth, as well as some salt for the hot saline irrigation of wounds. And there just wasn't any room in my first aid kit for these items. Okay, so that's the stuff I already had which wouldn't fit. Let's have a look at what else is in there. So first up, let's have a bit of a look at what there is inside. Up on the top there, we have a nurse's watch and a stethoscope bearing an actual name badge. And the old watch still works. Fancy that. So we'll just stick it where it won't get lost. And then we'll dig into the mystery bag. Bit like an unboxing, isn't it? Okay, what's in the plastic bags? Bag number 1, crepe bandages, elastic bandages, compression bandages, bag full of bandages. Bag number 2, more exotica. What do we have in here? Working from left to right, we have a small sterile dressing which is actually inside its use-by date. Then we have a pair of size 7.5 once upon a time sterile surgical gloves, packet of steri strips, about 9 band-aids, an aluminium and foam padded finger stall, and a very, very old roll of micropore. And here we have the pick of the litter, still in their little boxes, not actually sterile, but if I had to deliver a baby on the side of the road, I've got cord clamps. Still to come, there are the solutions. There was also a Tensopress high compression bandage, still in its box. There's some 3% hydrogen peroxide. There's some betadine. There's some very, very, very old eucalyptus oil. There's some very old Dettol. There's some fairly new spray-on eucalyptus oil. And there's some Drixine pediatric nasal drops. And still, there's more. We have a couple of plastic disposable forceps for doing dressings with. If we really have to, we can sterilise them first with alcohol. We have a couple of suture cutters if we really need to. And then we have some artery forceps. Well, let's face it, they would have been sterile when I took them out of my father's workshop and boiled them. I mean, that one I actually bought while I was working as a nurse, and stuck them inside that piece of sterilised flannel. But my theory is, if you're on the side of the road and you need an artery forceps to control the bleeding, and by the time they get the patient to hospital, they'll be able to give them some antibiotics to cover whatever infection you may perhaps possibly have introduced into their system by stopping them from bleeding to death with an unsterilised hemostat. Look at that. There's another suture cutter. So I've got 3 of them. And then perhaps the piece de resistance, in its bag, we have, ready for use, an airway with a non-return valve so that you can give expired air resuscitation, and if the patient vomits into that end, the non-return valve ensures that the vomit returns back onto their chest rather than onto the person who's attempting to resuscitate them. And then once you get them going again and you feel you can leave them to move on to somebody else, we have a Goodell's airway as well. So that is what was in the first aid kit. That is what wouldn't fit in the first aid kit. I just keep finding stuff that I forgot that I had. There inside the plastic bag is a clean, operating theatre quality, carbonised, conductive, no sparking Goodell's airway. And finally, I'm pretty sure that is all that was in the bag. And you can even see right out through the bottom of it. So for a while I've been putting off this moment because even though it was pretty ratty, most of my first aid gear was able to fit in the bag that was in the car, and it wasn't actually spraying first aid gear all over the place. However, we live in an age of disposables. My son has a business. Occupational health and safety requires him to have 3 first aid kits. And when modern first aid equipment approaches its use-by date, the company that's contracted to supply him with first aid kits sent him a whole lot of new stuff. So he presented me with a reason to get a whole new first aid kit, an upgrade. Get ready for this. This is what the universe has just given me in the way of first aid kits. First aid equipment and supplies. And in order to ensure that I'm not caught in a situation where all of my first aid gear is haphazardly at home in a bag, I've got to fit it into the car, haven't I? Negative sympathetic magic. If you want to need your box of band-aids, leave it at home. Just feast your eyes on this. Isn't that something? That's the near edge of the bag. That's the far edge of the bag. That's the middle of the bag. It is huge. I can't believe it. Give you some idea of it. My hands are 8 inches across, finger to, like finger to thumb. It is gigantic. Okay, and believe it or not, I've been waiting a week to do this, and it's the first time I'm going to get to see what's in the bag. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that bloody amazing? And all of it is sort of within a couple of months of its replace by date, its use by date. It's, oh, you haven't used that? Well, you better get a new one, because in case you've been keeping it at 50 degrees Celsius, some of it might have gone off. And there we go. That's it. All sorted. Now, it's not actually totally entirely new stuff that I've never seen before, because if we go over there, that very back row, the micropore, the elastic bandage, the iPads, the betadine, a couple of little crepe bandages, one still in its packet, all the way to there. Shall we say from there to there, that stuff that I had left at my son's after I was dressing his comminuted fracture of the distal phalange of his right thumb. What you're looking at is 10 individual sealed, sterile, normal saline wet wipes. We have 22 ampules of normal saline. We have a bunch of loose band-aids, and we have another 2 packets of 50. Elastoplast band-aids to be cut up. New elastoplast, new micropore. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 3-inch bandages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 2-inch bandages. 3 elastic bandages, 10 centimetre by 50 centimetre. A hospital quality crepe bandage. 1, 2, 3 size 15 premium wound dressings. 3 size 14 premium wound dressings. 1 emergency blanket. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 triangular bandages. Count the things. 3 instant ice packs. 4-inch by 4-inch non-adherent pads. 3-inch by 4-inch non-adherent pads. 5-inch by 9-inch abdominal pads. A dozen iPads. 15 packets of 3x3 sterile gauzes. 15 packets of 2-inch by 3-inch non-absorbent pads, aka Telfa. 3 packets of 10 sterile pins for digging out needles. And even 3 packets of safety pins. 3 7x10s, 1 5x7, 1 3.8 by 5 centimetre. And my next trick is to fit all of that, plus all of that, into its new home. To wit, that cargo bag. And the fisherman's organiser, which I have been forced to purchase in order to stash the lovely loot. And so that's the job before me now, to put it all together into a functional first aid kit. Don't we live in a decadent age, wherein I, the prepper, the hillbilly hermit on me hill, get hundreds of dollars worth of free first aid gear to look after whoever needs looking after if Donald Trump nukes China and the wheels fall off the industrial civilization? I can't believe my luck. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. We're on the upload limit. I'll make another video after I've got the first aid kit together, and I'll show you what it looks like then. Cheers and ciao. Arr.